school. Luke's answer to the problem was to found the Stopgap Foundation. We will hear about leading by example, how to letting action speak for you and overcoming the barriers that we will inevitably encounter. So please join me in welcoming Luke. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael. Wow, it's a different scene on the stage here than there. Amazing. Next slide. This is a picture of a horse. Next slide. No, I'm joking. But this particular picture shows a horse wearing blinders. Now, a horse wears blinders to prevent itself from getting distracted from its things that pop up in its peripheral vision. And so with blinders on, a horse has a 60-degree field of view. And I like to draw a parallel between a horse wearing blinders and us in general as a society. I believe that we just don't see everything. We just don't look at everything from all perspectives and all angles. So I'm excited to share my story with you today and how I landed in the saddle of a charitable organization. Really? Come on! That one usually gets a good run. I'm going to try that again. Because there's going to be a few more puns coming your way. I really want you guys to react. You're eating quinoa. We're trying to It's an energizer. The pyramids were built on quinoa. I'm going to share my belief, around how we all hold the keys to helping make our communities an even better place. We just need to learn how to use them. So during my talk, I'm going to invite you all to remove your own blinders and open your mind to a way of life that's of service. Doing work that really helps open doors to untapped potential. So I graduated from the University of Waterloo. I got my civil engineering degree there, and at the time I was really, really passionate about mountain biking. I spent all my free time on my mountain bike. And so after I graduated, I wanted to move to the very best place in the country to bike, and that's the interior of BC. So I packed up my stuff, I drove my car to the interior of British Columbia, landed in a sleepy little ski bump town named Rossland, and I just integrated myself with all of the other mountain bikers that were living a dream, riding their bikes every day in the very best place in the country to bike. And so I guess it was late in the riding season of 2002 when I was riding my bike with my good buddy Johnny, who's wearing the blue helmet, the photo. I'm wearing the red jersey. Johnny and I loved filming each other riding on some of the more demanding trails in the region, and so I filmed Johnny jumping this big 25-foot gap on this one trail that we'd heard other riders talking about. We searched it out, we found the trail, the part of this trail with this big gap. I filmed Johnny jumping it. We celebrated that huge adrenaline rush that comes with raising the bar in an adrenaline pumping sport like mountain biking. And I felt like in that moment it was my turn to give it a try. I wanted to feel that rush. I felt like this was the time to do it. So I handed the camera over to Johnny and took my bike up to the takeoff platform where I checked to make sure I was feeling good. I made sure that my bike was in the right gear, scoped at the landing from up there. And, you know, I left the takeoff platform, and I essentially left my life as I knew it. I didn't make the landing. I crashed. I flew over my handlebars, landing head first, breaking 2 bones in my upper spine, causing a spinal cord injury. In a split second, my life was changed forever. And I was all of a sudden introduced to a world that's really not well suited for someone that uses a wheelchair. Now I sense that you're all chomping at the bit to hear about those keys. So before I go any further with this, let's jump into this. Thumbs up over there, I see. Yes. Saved me. Next slide. So I truly believe that we all have the keys. We already have these keys in our back pocket to making our communities even better places. We just have to learn how to use them. We already have the keys, we just have to learn how to use them. I believe that life here on Earth is already pretty freaking amazing. There is a bingo boardwalk around the corner. I don't even know what a bingo boardwalk is, but it sounds incredible, and I can't wait to finish up here today to check out what that's all about. Don't know what it is, but there's a sign that says there's a bingo boardwalk around. But I truly believe that we can do even better. There's even more room for tacking on something extra incredible. Bingo boardwalk. I don't even know. Ice cream. When we choose to use these keys, we are engaging our minds to follow the campsite rule, which is leave it better than you found it. This is what drives the shift in perspective and really motivates us into action. So what are the benefits of using these keys? And I believe that there's two big ones. Most of us really want to contribute to helping make our communities even better places. And getting engaged and offering something of value for free, for no cost, really allows us to do that. We are being of service, and in my opinion, this is the most fulfilling experience we can have in life. The second benefit to using our keys, learning how to use our keys, is how they essentially open doors to untapped potential. As community builders working towards making our communities even better places, we need the help of everyone. We need the help of a lot of people. And so in order to get their help, the work that we do, it generally involves removing barriers that are currently holding people back from reaching their full potential. So whether that's a family struggling to put food on their table for a family, or helping somebody out that uses a wheelchair to get into a building, we hold the keys. We already hold the keys to removing those barriers to untapped potential. So there it was. All of a sudden, introduced to a world that was completely new to me, completely foreign territory. over time, I slowly learned how to relive or relearn how to do these things that I didn't even have to think about at one time, like brushing my teeth, tying my shoes, doing laundry, going to the bank. I had to relearn all of that stuff, and over time I slowly began to regain my self-confidence, and I wanted to pursue work. I wanted to get a job. So I pulled together a resume, and I sent it out to a bunch of engineering firms in Toronto, and I ended up getting a great job with a firm in the city, but there was one problem. The building that the office was in had 3 steps to get in. So every time I wanted to get in and out of the office, I had to rely on someone to help set up this big, heavy, folding aluminum ramp to get into the office. So just imagine that for a second. Imagine what that would do to your independence and your spontaneity to come and go as you pleased. So I had to deal with this issue for 8 years. For 8 years, I had to rely on someone to come and help set up this ramp every time I wanted to get in and out of the office. So that situation, combined with all of the other stepped entryways that I had come across since needing to use a wheelchair, made my frustration boil over. Next slide. This is the first key. Frustration. 35 of the TTC's 69 subway stations are not accessible. Toronto has 200 streetcars, and only 31 of them are accessible, servicing just 3 of the 14 streetcar routes in the city. There's 8,000 restaurants and bars in Toronto. And I can say with complete confidence that 3 out of 4 of them are not accessible. So today there's over 1.3 billion people living in the world with some form of disability. So Canada's general unemployment rate is about 7%, and the unemployment rate of working age people with a disability is 54%. We heard Michael share a statistic about disability. By 2030, 1 in 5 Canadians will have some form of disability. Nothing was being done to remove these barriers that I was facing on a daily basis. I was even noticing that new buildings were being built with stepped entryways. I wanted people to start talking about these issues that weren't just affecting me, but affect so many people, because when that ramp was out, all kinds of people loved using it. Parents pushing strollers, delivery people, the elderly, people with temporary disabilities due to an injury or illness. And you know what? By affiliation, the people that were joining someone for many of those groups that I just mentioned, they loved using the ramp as well when it was out. It made me realize that we are all affected by inaccessible spaces. I wanted people to start talking about these issues. I wanted people to start thinking about really great ideas that could help solve some of these big problems. And I wanted people to start talking about our human right to equal access. Now, around the same time when my frustration was hitting a tipping point, I started noticing these really brightly painted bicycles popping up around the city. Now, these bikes were a part of an urban art installation that 2 OCAD employees had taken on, and these employees from OCAD wanted to start a conversation about public art and urban planning and cycling. And the project was so successful. The media wrote stories about it. People loved having their photographs taken with the bikes. At the time, Rob Ford considered them to be graffiti. And then as he was very famous for it, he apologized for calling them that, invited the artists into City Hall to do his formal apology. Anyway, it was so brilliant. Painting just a simple common object like a bicycle, a really bright color, was amazingly effective in helping these artists bring attention to the issues that they wanted to start getting people to start talking about. And it really gave me an idea. So raising awareness is the second key on that keychain that you already hold in your pocket. So in 2011, we pulled together a bunch of volunteers and some building materials, and we built 13 really brightly painted ramps for businesses in Toronto's Junction neighborhood. We came up with a really simple website and a catchy name called Stopgap that we stenciled on our ramps, that we could allow people to go and learn all about these issues that we wanted people to start talking about. Now, as the name suggests, stopgap, it's a stopgap measure to these big issues that affect so many people. Now, much like how the brightly painted bicycles were raising awareness about those issues that the artists wanted people to start talking about, we wanted the ramps to highlight how so many people are prevented from accessing the spaces that they desire. Raising awareness, second key. Offering something of value at no cost is the third key. So when we first went out into the Junction neighborhood, we were approaching business owners with an ask. We wanted them to cover the cost of the labor and the building materials. And we knock on doors and we explain what we're up to the business owners, and we just be received with a blank face. No, we don't need a rent because we don't have any customers that use wheelchairs. And we just sort of sit there and give them a blank face back until they figured it out for themselves. And then, some business owners would say, we don't need a ramp because we can just bring stuff outside if somebody wants to see them. So we had to go back to the drawing board to figure out how to make this a little more palatable for these business owners that were clearly ignorant about this big issue. And so we sat around the table and we figured, okay, well, how do we do this? And the answer was in the form of getting volunteers together and getting building materials donated so we could give ramps away to these business owners at no cost. And it worked. So all of those first 13 business owners that got a ramp for free absolutely loved them. Absolutely loved the ramps. And their customers loved the ramps, the residents in the community of the Junction loved the ramps. And it really told us that we need to take this project to different communities in the city, and so we did. We took it to the Danforth, Roncesvalles, Kensington Market, Mount Pleasant, all across the city. And the media picked up on this, and they started writing stories about it. And people from all across the country started hearing about the work that we were doing in the GTA. And inspired people from across the country were reaching out to us and asking us how they could bring our ramps to their communities. And so we had to think about this. How do we mobilize people and activate this project in different parts of the country? And so again, we sat around the table, we pulled together everything that we had learned along the way, and we put together a handbook and all the resources, the design spreadsheets, and we just started sharing all of that knowledge that we had gained with anybody that wanted to take the project on their own at no cost, for free. And it worked. And all of a sudden, we started seeing ramps pop up all across the country, from Halifax and Charlottetown on the East Coast to Vancouver and Prince George on the West Coast and everywhere in between. And so now we have close to 1,200 ramps in more than 50 communities across the country, and it's growing by the minute. I was just talking to somebody over lunch, and they heard on the radio that there was a new project that started up just in a small town outside of London. And it was like, yes, it's amazing. I didn't even heard of that before, but it's really speaking to that third key of offering something of value at no cost. The fourth key is having many hands on deck. This is a picture of some of the volunteers that helped out with our London project a couple of years ago, where a group of volunteers, so some members of the community out in London, pulled together a team of incredible organizations, retail stores, and contractors to build 48 ramps for London area businesses at no cost. And I really think that this picture speaks to how, when you pull together different groups of organizations that would not traditionally come together and do whatever under one roof, it really speaks to how that can galvanize a community, create cohesiveness, and strengthen a community into doing really important, impactful work. Having many hands on deck is the fourth key. So the fifth key is being disruptive. Kicking up a fuss and stirring the pot. Being disruptive, the fifth key. So this is one of our more famous ramps. It's been recently featured on the news. It is kicking up a fuss in the city. All of our ramps are designed to be temporary, deployable. So business owners have to use them on a request basis because current building codes and bylaws prevent a ramp like this from living out on the sidewalk on a full-time basis. But what's happening is that business owners just leave them out. They bring them out in the morning, leave them out all day, and some of them leave them out 24/7. Some of them bring them in at night. But a lot of municipalities have a hard time with this, including Toronto. But we see this as a huge, huge win. It's a huge win for us, because we need to start thinking about how those ramps and other barrier-free amenities can be a part of our everyday lives on a permanent basis. Sure, and I know we've already heard about the AODA today, and I'm sure it's all on your radar. But we're to be a fully barrier-free province by 2025. If you look up AODA, that's the tagline. Fully barrier-free province by 2025. And just think about that. Think about, well, in my mind, I'm reminded about how long it takes for the TTC to get those accessible subways or accessible streetcars. So long. How long it takes to install an elevator. 2025 it's coming up. It's coming up fast. So this project has become such an important project to really raising awareness and getting these big issues on people's radars. Really important project. Education is the sixth key to helping make our communities even better places. Education is really the life force behind our initiative. Without education, there really isn't a whole lot of awareness raising. I think, Michael, this was one of your keys. Beauty. Love that. And educating the younger generation, I believe, is really important because we're going to be relying on them to come up with great ideas that are going to help us overcome some of these big issues that affect all of us. So we've developed a school program that allows kids to go out into the community and talk to business owners, note the barriers that they see, and write letters to business owners that have a stepped entryway. And those business owners reach back out to us and say, hey, there's this group of kindergarten kids that were here and they shamed me for having a step. How do we get a ramp? And so we build a ramp for that business owner, and we get the kids to paint them and deliver them to the business owner. And it's that type of work that we feel is so important to achieving a fully barrier-free province by 2025 and beyond, a barrier-free Canada and world, because this issue is not just something that exists here in Ontario. It's a worldwide issue. So students are becoming informed, the business owners are becoming informed, and they're all informing the broader community about these big issues. Yeah. That's Grant, man. He's a barrier-busting superhero. He talks in a Texas accent. He's a goofball. But having fun is the seventh key. Rant Man embodies fun. And having fun we set out with our rant project in 2011 with the intent of having fun. I was just doing it on weekends and evenings. And we wanted to have fun doing it. It became, it served us really well, and it's become a core value of our initiative. So Rant Man and the bright colors that we're using with our ramps, not only are those bright colors raising awareness and getting people's attention, but they're also helping shift perspective around what a barrier-free amenity is. So we're attempting to use those bright colors to remove that institutional feel that comes with a stainless steel washer and grab bar. Or it's great, and thank you very much for getting it here today. But it's kind of ugly. I'm really glad it works, because most of the time these lifts don't work. You put the key in and it doesn't work, or nobody knows how to use it. But thank you for knowing how to use it, and I'm so glad that it actually works. And yeah, so setting a lighter tone is so key to bringing people on board and making it making an initiative something that people really want to get behind. So fun is is a core value of ours, and that's why it's the seventh key that I'm sharing with you today. Putting people first is the eighth key. Putting people first is the eighth key. And I think we're all familiar with the image on the left. That's the current wheelchair access symbol. It's a symbol that is almost 50 years old. And I have a few issues with it. I feel like our eye is drawn to a chair and not the person in the chair. I also feel like the last time I checked, we don't grow our arms out of our bellies.
Here, here.
It has this flavor, this tone of immobility and helplessness. Now, the image on the right, I think you'll agree, has a much different tone. Much different tone. Your eye is drawn to the person and not the chair. It has a much more forward-moving, active, independent feel. And it's this type of imagery, this type of symbolism that is so important to helping remove barriers. We can remove barriers right now, simply by using language that puts the person first. By putting the person first, and then whatever disability they have, we can all of a sudden remove barriers and create a much more empowering community. So similar to the symbol and using empowering language, we can put people first and help make our communities even better places. So let's just do a quick little recap. Faf and Beth. That's memorable, right? You can tweet that. That's gonna go viral. Faf and Beth. Beef. Frustration. These are our keys. Awareness raising. Giving something of value at no cost. Free. Having many hands on deck. Involving all kinds of different organizations that wouldn't typically come together under one roof. Being disruptive. Being the, excuse my French, but being a shit disturber. Education. Having fun. And putting people first. Faf and Beth.
Great.
So I've got a little exercise that I'd like you to do. You can just don't read it yet. This person took on an initiative on her own. I'll just read it to you. To the person who lets their dog poop on our lawn and doesn't clean it up. First of all, it's beyond rude. We live here and pay a lot of money to live here, and it's not a toilet. Secondly, if you can't pick up your dog's poop, you shouldn't have a dog. And lastly, we are watching you. The next time you let your dog poop on our lawn and don't pick it up, I will personally follow you back to your home, wait until you get inside, pull down my pants and take a huge dump on your doorstep and on the windshield of your car. Love, Annie. Yeah, I feel like Annie really used those keys. Like she had those keys and she activated them. She was frustrated and she used that frustration key. I love this. So before you leave here today, tell somebody, tell your neighbor that you're sitting with at your table what frustrates you. Then see if you can think of one way that you'll raise awareness about this. Are you gonna post on Facebook? Are you gonna write a poem? Maybe you'll invent a lawn robot. And then share what you did. So tell your audience how you're going to alleviate this frustration that you have in your life. Just a little bit of homework for you. There's our buddy again that we met at the beginning of my talk. It's a beautiful sunny day. He's not wearing his blinders on. He's happy. So without blinders on, a horse has a 340-degree field of view. A horse can actually see behind itself with its blinders off. So imagine if we all took our blinders off. I truly believe that without our blinders, we will start to recognize people for what they can do and not what they can't do. With our blinders off, I think we'll start to realize that it's really not us that have disabilities, but it's the places that we live, work, and play in that are disabled.